Hello and welcome to Let Me Be Your Game Guide, a podcast that spends each episode delving into a mystical new video game, exploring its charms and challenges, and helping you decide if it should be next on your list. I'm your host, Emma.
I'm Rylan.
And this is Shawn.
Join us for this week's spoiler-free rating episode as we escape reality and enter the metaphysical. For the remainder of this episode, let me be your game guide.
I always feel like when we're recording this, I need to wait for like the little theme song to play.
Oh,
Do you guys feel that?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that awkward silence after I'm done talking and then
And the music
nothing.
starts.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
not when we're here live.
Nope.
Yeah, that changes things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the podcast. Welcome back if you've been listening, but welcome if this is your first episode.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, we are talking about the Plucky Squire today.
The Plucky Squire.
Welcome.
Yeah, and this is a rating episode, so if you want to hear our deep dive, then listen to next week's episode. But today we're rating it, and yeah.
Just gonna have a little chat about it.
Little chat, just a little surface level chat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Real quick, before we begin the episode, don't forget to give the podcast a follow, rate it, review it, however you want to show us love. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/letmebeyourgg, where you can view episodes early. We post them on Sundays, a couple days before the episode posts everywhere else. You can find us on socials as Let Me Be Your GG on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And it's also no spaces. So LETMEBEYOURGG. No spaces.
Nice.
You can also find us on TikTok as Let Me Be Your Game Guide, also no spaces. And if you want to email us, our email is letmebeyourgg@gmail.com. This is the best way to get game requests in. Just make sure you title the email game requests so it's easy for us to find. That's my spiel. Let's get into the Plucky Squire.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Ready. Okay. The Plucky Squire was developed by All Possible Futures and published by Devolver Digital. It's available on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. It was released originally on September 17th, 2024, and you can get this game for $29.99.
Erwer.
Underwear. Sounded like you said underwear.
Yeah.
Underwear.
It's a mystery.
Sounded like you needed oil. Like you sounded like
Oil.
Okay.
yeah. Oh, thank you. You know.
Well, real quick about the developers. All Possible Futures was founded in 2019 by Jonathan Biddle and James Turner. This is their only game. This is their first and only game right now. So not a lot else to talk about. I'm not sure if they have anything on the horizon, but this is a very new game. It came out very recently. So yeah, but very cool, especially just like a two-person team, although the credits did show they had a lot of help. They had a lot of other people credited.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I admit ignorance in video game industry, how that works.
Yeah, so I'll post the socials for Jonathan and James in the show notes, but then I'll also post a link to the full credits of the game, so if you're interested in knowing exactly who is involved, you can find it there. This game does not have an accessibility report yet, at least not one that I could find, so I've done my best. I use the same type of template that the Family Gaming database uses, and I just do my best to check off the things that the game does have. So if it's not seen on the list, I didn't think that it was there, or I didn't feel confident enough to put it on there. So this really comes down to like text contrast and text size. I don't have the tools to evaluate that, and I'm also not a professional. So I'm doing my best, but don't take my accessibility report too seriously.
The bank, yeah.
Yeah, it's a best effort done by someone who kind of knows what they're doing when it comes to accessibility.
But with great intentions.
But yes, yeah, just if you wanted to check it out. So that'll be linked. It'll be posted on our Patreon, but the link to it will be in the show notes. Shawn, this was your pick.
It was.
Do you want to give us a quick spoiler-free description of the game before we dive into the rating?
So, the Plucky Squire is a 2D, 3D platform adventure type game, where you play as the Plucky Squire, Jot, who has a team trying to defeat the evil Humgrump, yes. He's trying to defeat Humgrump because he's causing evil in your story.
He's naughty.
He is. He's a bad guy. So
cool. Now what you've all been waiting for, let's get started on our spoiler-free game rating. We take into account general considerations such as length, challenge rating, and replayability. We also consider story and narrative topics including plot, characters, world building, and content variety, presentation topics including graphics, sound design and music, and mechanics, and lastly, we consider the overall value of the game. So, we're going to start with general considerations and the length. How long did it take you guys to beat this game?
So I played on the Switch, and a funny thing, in the game, it tells you how long you've been playing for on your save. It'll tell you X amount of minutes that you've been playing. Mm-hmm. Well, if you play it on your Switch and you pause it and then put the Switch to sleep, it will continue to count. So my timer was at like 2,000 minutes or something. So I had to start.
Got your money's worth.
I got my money's worth, yeah. So I had to start calculating it manually, but I think I was around 9 hours for playtime.
Yeah, my Steam Deck did something similar just for a short period of time. I'm pretty sure it was almost exactly 9 hours, maybe a hair longer.
Mine said 10 hours, and I kind of trusted it because it felt like it took me 10 hours. I usually do a lot of pausing and setting the game down or putting it to sleep. I didn't do it this time. I was just really crunching on the game.
You're locked in.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Very cool.
10 hours for me.
Sweet.
Yeah. Moving on to challenge rating, our scale starts at beginner, escalating to easy, then moderate, difficult, and topping out at expert. I kind of had trouble with the challenge rating, mostly because this game allows you to change the challenge level of the game.
Yeah, in the beginning of the game, there's an adventure mode and a story mode. And so if you want like a challenge, you go to the adventure mode. If you just kind of want to like go through the story, you go to the story mode. And it's a little bit easier. So I did mine in adventure mode.
Yeah,
I also did adventure mode. I felt like this game was easy/beginner.
Yeah.
On the low side of easy, I think.
Yeah.
There were a couple parts that were challenging, although the mini games that the game has, some of those were challenging, but you could skip them in the pause menu. You just pause it and you skip it. If this part was challenging, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, which is a checkbox on that accessibility report. So yeah, if you want to skip mini game feature, that's available in this game, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I had it at easy, but not super crazy.
Yeah, that's where I'd be too. The puzzles were pretty straightforward because there are puzzles in the game. The puzzles were pretty easy to get through, and the battling was pretty simple. It was just a lot of fun. So
yeah, they also had hints for the puzzles, really accessible too.
Yeah,
the puzzles you couldn't really skip, but they always had a little hint man there that could tell you almost exactly what to do.
Was it a mini
beard?
Mini Moonbeard.
Mini beard.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Target audience. Who do you guys think would be interested in this game? And before we get into that, I just wanted to point out, usually I tell you the ESRB rating, and this is
first try.
E10 plus. Thank you. For fantasy, they note fantasy violence. The Family Gaming Database will also add their own tags. So like fighting monsters, weapons. But another tag they included, which I thought was funny, was capitalism.
Oh, okay.
I just thought it was so random.
So I'll defend the capitalism in this game. And I'm guessing it's because there's a shop where you can buy little upgrades.
Yeah, I didn't know what that had to do with the
accessibility.
No, the ESRB rating. This is the just like the age range.
Yeah,
they'll tag like
the you can't have
capitalism.
You got to be at least like 5 years old for capitalism. Maybe.
Apparently,
I don't know.
10.
I don't
know. I just thought it was funny. It was just a weird tag.
It's weird that they have it as 10 plus because I mean it is fantasy violence and that kind of thing, but there's no blood or anything. It's very cartoony style too. So
I feel like the tone of it is very like kiddish. I mean,
Yeah.
the setting is literally a kid's book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine if I had kids playing this with my kids or loving it as a child myself.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And especially because I don't think, I could see an 8-year-old playing this and having a great time. Like it's not, I
Definitely.
mean, I guess
Yeah.
I'm not a parent though. So what do I know?
Shawn?
I would. Yeah, I would let them play. I mean, all my kids.
You're a bad parent then.
Right now.
Do you know there's
Cancel
capitalism?
him.
Yeah. You know there's capitalism in there?
Just think of the little ones, man. Experiencing capitalism, man.
Jeez. So young.
It's too much.
For target audience though, I guess anybody really.
Yeah.
Or, people who love a platformer adventure type game. So
Yeah, I think that the we'll talk about this more a little bit later, but I think the themes were kind of like younger seeming than to me. There wasn't really anything that like felt very mature. So I could see like a lot of adults that are looking for like an adult feeling game, feeling like this is a little bit too little kiddish for them. But if you're looking for something cute and casual, this checks the box.
yeah.
This is a very cute game.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to replayability, our last part of general considerations. Do you guys think this game is replayable? Or would you replay it?
Probably not.
No?
No, I mean, the story's extremely linear and the puzzles weren't that difficult. Like, I guess like for me, there's a lot of novelty in this game, I think. But it doesn't really feel like the thing I need to like experience again. I mean, I could recommend this game. Sure, but I don't think I need to play it again,
Yeah, I think it might be a while for me before I replay it. It's a fun game and I had a great time with it, but you experience the story. It's very linear, like you were saying, Rylan. So you play it once, you got it. But maybe in a year or two, I'll play it again. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think it's classically a replayable game or traditionally a replayable game, but I'm biased because I loved this game.
Good.
I had so much fun. So I would totally replay it, but not in the sense that it's a replayable game just because I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly there were some things that it could have been better about, but
Yeah. I think for
Yeah.
me also it coming in around like 9 to 10 hours, I think hurts the replayability for me as well. Like I think this game's very charming. But maybe for like a couple hours for the replay, I think if I went to replay it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I kind of remember all this. And then I'd kind of fizzle out before I hit all the way through the game.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, moving into our story and narrative section, this starts our numbered ratings. So we rate things from 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And we're going to kick it off with plot. What did you guys rate the plot?
I would give the plot a 3 or 4. I thought it was pretty good. And the way that it all played out, I thought was fun. The story was good. The characters are great, and that kind of brings things along too. So yeah, I would say 3.5. My traditional 3.5.
Had to get
He's
one
back,
in.
baby. It's kind of tough because like in some ways, I feel like the story is like a little cliche. Like it's very like, I don't know, just like storybook stuff, but at the same time, damn it, that's what the game is. You're in a storybook. But it also has some like twists that make things meta to the storybook. Like you go outside the book and have some adventures there. And you're trying to save the book and the characters inside. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know, like a 3. I don't think the writing was spectacular for me. There were some clever moments, but overall some of it just seemed kind of general, basic.
Yeah. I was stuck between a 3 and a 4. I ended up giving it a 4, probably just because I liked the game a
Sure.
lot.
Yeah.
But I agree, Rylan, there were some parts, and we'll talk about it more in detail in next week's episode, but there were some things that got thrown in that I was like, that was random, or I don't know. It just seemed kind of like off. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's hard to say without spoiling because it's kind of at the end. But I ended up going with the 4. I loved the inside and outside the book, your adventures kind of outside of this storybook. I just thought was a very interesting angle to play.
Yeah.
And you meet other aspects of I don't know, in the bedroom. This is a child's bedroom, and you meet other characters and things outside of the storybook that are a part of different toys and drawings and stuff like that, which I thought was a cool addition to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it almost kind of felt like Toy Story.
Yeah.
Parts, yeah.
It did. Yeah. So, and what about the characters? Very close with the plot. What?
Your turn to go first. You never go first.
Oh, you're right. I do never go first. I'll go first.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
I gave the characters a 3, which I thought they were so cute. They were the cutest characters. Even the supporting characters were super cute, but there's just so little depth. You spend so much time with all of these characters, and there's just not a lot of development. And I think there actually was room for development to take place.
I think they tried to get some development through with some different plot stories, but it didn't really hit.
Yeah.
I think again for me, like it kind of comes back to the writing a little bit.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel especially strong with like the dialogue and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it almost feels like it's more of a kid style game because of
Yeah.
that. Like it's very shallow detail in the characters. Like they're just fun and poppy and like, oh yeah, but there's nothing really deeper. So
Did you guys also rate it?
Oh yeah.
whoops.
Yeah, I think I'm at like a 2.5, I think.
Okay.
It's tough because I do like Moonbeard. He's like the wizard,
Moonbeard and Minibeard are the shit. They're my favorite.
yeah, they're cool. I mean, how do you beat like a classic wizard in like a blue robe, but he's got sunglasses and his headphones on and he's just his house is like bopping to some sick jams.
Hey, chickabees. Like
Yeah.
My favorite character was short-lived, but it was Tumba.
Oh, Tumba.
Tumba.
Yeah.
Tumba. Yep. Ah, Tumba.
He just digs it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, moving on to world building. What did you guys rate world building?
I think I would give it a 3 for me.
Emma's face. Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe a 4. I thought it was very immersive. That was the big thing that I got out of it. Like once I started playing, I was like, oh, I don't want to put it down. Like I felt like I was in the story or on this kid's desk. Like
Yeah.
it felt like I was really in it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's hard for me to separate like the story of what's going on in the book versus like the whole plot of the game. So I guess I should focus more on the game. Like in the world building, like the idea of like your book characters, but you're more than that. Like you pop in and out of the book, you can pop into other things too. Like that is really cool. I felt like some of the locations in the storybook world felt disjointed to me a little bit. So that's kind of tough. I feel like probably 2.5 on this one as well. Emma's just
Oh my God.
stunned.
I
What?
gave it a 5.
Good.
Yeah.
Defend yourself.
Well, I mean, I just thought world building wise, yes, the storybook was very basic. Each place was, like you say, disjointed because it kind of had its own personality. You know, you have a very stereotypical theme for each place that you go. But just the world building outside of the book that happens where you know the name of the child that owns your book and you kind
Kind
of
of creepy.
well, you learn about like his interests and why the book is so important to him, and you get familiar with like this desk world that changes. The desk gets rearranged, so you feel like,
Yeah.
oh, he's been playing in his room and he's rearranged his desk to make this like different theme of whatever he's into at the time. I just liked it.
Is it a spoiler to say that the kid is 10 years old?
No,
Because I literally thought
that's
it was.
why it's E10 plus.
Oh yeah.
I thought this kid was like 16 for most of the game.
Oh,
Because
really?
there's so many like, not just like kids' art supplies. There's like professional art supplies on the desk and things like that. I feel like.
yeah, there's like a lot of acrylic paint like everywhere.
And I guess it's different because there's also like kiddish toys and stuff and like dominoes and stuff like that. But it's like a weird mixture. I assumed it was like a older kid who's into this sort of stuff and, in touch with their inner child.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I always assumed that it was a younger kid. And I guess you kind of learn is it Sam?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the kid.
The kid's name is Sam, and you learn that Sam is a writer and very artistic. And I don't know. I guess I didn't get old kid vibes.
Yeah, I got younger kid vibes too.
Oh, well, what do I know?
Yeah,
I
right.
just thought the kid was talented, so I assumed a little bit older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got some talented fifth graders out there.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I'm going to change mine to 4. That's a great point.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, because the outside world changes every time that you change worlds. And even though the world inside the book, I mean, the environment changes, but it's still kind of the same thing. The outside world changes vastly. So, yeah, I think I would agree. I think I'm going to go with the 4.
Cool. Rylan, are you going to move yours up as well?
No.
Nice. Stay strong,
I'm
dude.
just kidding. Well, moving on to our last part of story and narrative, the content variety. What did you guys rate content variety?
This is the first time I realized that content variety was in the story and narrative section. Because I automatically go to like gameplay variety.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Well, I didn't really know where else to put it because I guess maybe it can move down to presentation.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter either way. I don't know. We don't have to figure this out now. I don't know why that just blew my mind. I was like, whoa, it's in the story and narrative. Anyway, I thought this game was really strong with the variety, with the content variety. Like I want to give it like a 5, frankly. Like the longer chapters, like the main chapters of gameplay kind of had a similar flow to it where you are exploring in the storybook. You need to be able to do something that you can't do, and you go into the overworld onto the desk and explore and unlock a new ability basically to help you puzzle solve or get or navigate the storybook world. But within that, there were a lot of little surprises. These abilities you get are pretty unique and different. And so you really like end up interacting with these puzzles differently. There's also all these mini games throughout, which are totally different than the regular gameplay. And at first it feels a little jarring, but as you go, it's kind of like a fun break, and they're all like short, sweet, fun. So I like it.
Yeah.
7 out of 5.
I'm also going with a 5. Same thing. There's just so much variety in the different spaces and the different locations inside the book and outside the book, plus the mini games and all the other things. They definitely just keep the variety coming, and those mini games are a lot of fun, even in only being 5 minutes long or something. They're still a good time. So
Yeah. I also gave it a 5, but I do have one gripe with the mini games. I was kind of bummed that so each character has their own mini game. You play each mini game once, and then you don't see them again until the very end. And I kind of wish there was more of a progression with those mini games because they kind of represented the supporting and main characters' triumph through the plot. But there was no progression. It was like you got a mini game, and then at the very end you were reintroduced to this mini game that belonged to the certain person. And I guess I think that could have helped maybe with character development or kind of I don't know. It felt disjointed to me, but I'm still going to give it a 5. Because I don't think that really is content variety. I think that's just a personal complaint.
no, that's a good point though, because yeah, you're right. The mini games were kind of like showing their growth, I guess, and so you don't really get to see that until the very end.
Still gave it a 5. Now we'll move into presentation, where we'll discuss graphics, sound design and music, and mechanics, and then we'll talk about the value of this game. But starting with graphics, I'll go first. I gave this a 5 as well. This was my another 5. I just loved the 2D, 3D mixture of it all, and I thought that the 2D art style was really cute, and I thought it worked really well. And then the 3D was pretty smooth and nice to look at, and I think they contrasted each other well. There were also times that the characters or at least the main character, he would kind of transform. I don't know if this is graphics or just something. He'll kind of transform into a different version of himself depending on what he's doing. If
he gets super buff.
Yeah.
Hell
Yes.
But there was something else. Oh, there's another part where he gets like a little pack, like a jetpack, and he gets like glasses and he's flying around in like a space situation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought they were really cool.
No, yeah, I agree. I think this is a 5 for me as well because the graphics were super excellent. Like the 3D, like when you're on the table and everything, looks so good. My computer was being loud. You hear the fan going. My Steam Deck was really unhappy.
Yeah.
I was happy. The 2D, yeah, like you said, was really, really cute and funny at times. I don't really like the way that the characters look when you get like a close up on them, like their faces. I don't know. That's just me. I'm weird.
Wait, in the 3D or the 2D?
In the 2D, like when you have the storybook and it's like their big face. I just don't like the way their eyes were like horizontal or vertical lines. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. That's just miscellaneous, but I did really, really appreciate the way that this game had like so many different artistic styles. Like, like another one that I don't think you mentioned, Emma, is like they do one where it becomes like a side scroller too.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you're in like a cave is when they do this often. And so you're like, engaging like enemies, jumping up, like platforming in like a side scroller view. And that is kind of a slightly different art style where everything is like dark because you're in a cave and dim. It's a mismatch of different styles, but all of them are done super well. I really appreciated collecting like the concept art in this game because it was really cool to see kind of where things started and then where they went and kind of the intention and like ideas behind that. I think that the artist in this game, or the artists, had a lot of passion and it showed big time. Like they had great ideas. They executed them. It was sweet.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say but 5. So you guys have nailed it. Yeah, it was very good. And even within all those different styles, it looked amazing. So
yeah. Well, moving on to sound design and music, Shawn, do you want to kick this one off since we just talked your ear off?
Sure. I think I would go between a 3 and a 4. The music was really good. It reminded me a lot of like, I don't know, kind of got like old school Zelda vibes, kind of. I don't know. Like that's just kind of what I was feeling. But they had a lot of good just beeps and bops. And the music, I do have one gripe. There's some serious, like, you're facing a boss or some of those things. And the music doesn't really change to like a more serious interaction, at least from my understanding, from what I remember. It was kind of just still like serendipity, da da da. It's like you're fighting this boss at the very end of the game that you'd think you'd ramp it up a little bit, at least from what I remember.
I don't know how much I'm spoiling here, so we can cut this because this might be a legit spoiler. But that was one thing that did bug me actually was like probably my favorite song in the game was in one of these mini games. But actually it does change when you're fighting the boss. It like becomes like almost like a glitchy version of it. And I did not like that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Interesting.
But for me, like, I think it's like a 4.5 for the music. I really liked the music and like the sounds that were made. I think it's like just shy because of like, I can't remember any of the tunes, but I enjoyed it while I was there.
Yeah.
I just want a bop. Or like something that like moves me emotionally. This was just missing it, but the sound was super good. I need to hear your guys' impressions of the noise that Jot makes when he comes in and out of the book, please.
Ha!
Yeah.
He like charges it up. He's like,
My ears.
oh, sorry.
No, well, you're talking about the little like jump roll.
When he's
like-
charging up to get out.
Yeah,
or
when you
in,
hold
know?
down, Y or whatever, and he's
Oh,
like,
you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
That is a great point, though. Like, the sounds that were in just the sound effects alone were great. There was a spot where you have a support character. His name's Trag, and he was like banging on a pipe, and you could like hear his
Oh,
tune
yeah.
on the pipe while he's sitting there banging. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So
Thrash.
His name is Thrash. Yeah.
that one. He always says Trog because
Yeah,
that's
he's
the
like
mountain.
from
Yeah,
that
yeah,
area.
yeah.
From
But
But
Trog
you're
or
right. I
whatever.
do remember that part where he's like beating on the like tapping on the pipe, and I didn't realize that you can hear it as you're approaching.
getting it. Yeah, you can.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
Because I it didn't click. I thought it was just part of the song, and then you go in, and I was like, oh, it's been him the whole time, just
Yeah.
tapping a beat.
I think the mini games though had the best songs.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
Thrash's mini game is the one I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I like the song on that one.
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
Yeah, I didn't mind the boss one, but it was different for sure. But
Oh yeah.
very metal.
And
With
then
the
he
guitar.
like
Well,
I like the
a little
noise
metal
of
with
like
the
the
guitar.
thump 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 as he shoots the shit at you.
Uh-huh.
I had feelings about that mini game, but we're gonna have to wait till next week to talk about it.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
But I did like that song. That was my favorite song, and I remember I was doing like a head
Yeah,
bop
yeah.
the entire
Also
time.
the there's like a almost like rhythm sneak game.
Oh,
That one had a good little jam too.
Yeah.
You got feelings about that too?
Yeah.
Tune in next week, folks,
Yep,
for
you'll
the
hear
feelings.
it all.
I did give the sound design and music a 5.
Nice.
Yeah, I loved it. Even the little just kind of walking through the forest or whatever, just it was good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I will say like the song that plays when like you're starting up the game just makes me happy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
acoustic. Yeah.
Just feel good
Mhm.
music. Moving on to mechanics, I did have some feelings about the mechanics of this game.
I have a feeling, but it's not necessarily about the mechanics. It was just about how my game was running on OG Switch.
Oh,
So,
boy.
Yeah.
I did
You don't
read.
have the Switch 2 yet?
No, I haven't got the
yeah.
Switch 2 yet,
Okay,
but it does look
Patreon money, though.
sweet. Yeah, dude. Yeah, but those are cool.
I heard some complaints about console having some crashing issues and not running as smoothly as it should have, probably because the graphics were so psycho.
Yeah. I just noticed that when I was playing, like, I would be running and all of a sudden it would just like glitch for a second and then it would keep going. It's just lagging. So, but when I watched like some playthroughs and stuff, I'm like, oh man, it's smooth. You know, if you're doing it on the right device, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was pretty resource intensive because I think like all that 3D stuff around the book is present just all the time.
Yeah. Well, and hopping in and out, like, yeah, that's probably really hard. So,
Yeah. Well, I gave it a 3 because there are page turning mechanics, and really any mechanics interacting with the book I thought were kind of clunky.
Yes.
I would accidentally close the book. I would accidentally I don't know. It wasn't as reactive as I thought it was going to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I struggled with that. And then that timing mini game that you were just talking about, I'll just say it's the one with the mouse. That also was not timing right. So I would tell him to move and then he wouldn't move and then he would move like later.
Oh.
Yeah.
So just little things like that. It was a 3 for me. I don't know. It didn't affect my gameplay enough to move it down to a 2, but when I had to interact with the book, it was a little frustrating.
Yeah, I definitely remember trying to like flip a page and I'm like, I hit the stick to flip the page and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And then it would finally flip and I'm like, oh, okay. So like, it took a minute. So that was frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
I also had trouble remembering like the specific, like which stick do you use?
Oh, yeah. I would turn the wrong
And then
page.
you turn the wrong direction too, because it was a little unintuitive, I felt,
Mm-hmm.
with that book moving mechanic.
Yeah.
I think my biggest beef with the game was how it didn't just let you play. I felt like it constantly interrupted you for characters to like say one thing, or
Yeah.
like you go to the next area and you have like 2 minutes of dialogue that you don't really need, instead of just
Yeah.
advancing and fighting the things or solving the puzzle. A lot of the mechanics felt a little bit watered down to me as well. Like they never really reached a point where I felt like I was being challenged, except for maybe in some of the mini games where, and I think that's partially too because you're not doing that the whole time. So when you get to like a slightly harder part, you kind of need to like focus and regroup and maybe go through it a couple times before you can win. But with the general mechanics, like all the platforming was super basic. The combat was super basic. So I think on that level, it was a little bit disappointing for me. Probably like a 2, frankly.
Yeah. Well, and on the same vein, talking about the mini games real quick, that's why I wanted more instances of the mini games, because I feel like when you're introduced to them, they're pretty easy. They're definitely they're not easy, but there's like a little bit of a challenge, but and then
They're pretty easy.
Yeah, and then you get reintroduced to them at the very end of the game, and it was maybe this is just me, but I was like, I feel like we just went 0 to 100 with these mini games, and I kind of wanted something in between so I could A, remember how to play the mini games, and B, just have a more progression towards like easy to difficult rather than just being like, now it's very hard.
Yeah, because with Violet's minigame, you only do that one other time.
Oh, yeah. And no instructions.
Yeah, that's true. They just kind of throw you in there like, okay, go. And it's
I
guess
it's easy to figure out how to play, but
basically
I was just
bubble
like,
shooter.
Yeah. I just, it started and I was like, wait, what? Oh my God, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point because like I really like bubble shooter. Like I used to just play that all the time for fun and beat it and stuff. But and this is like the game where the bubbles are coming down, they're different colors. You got to match 3 or more to erase them or whatever. But like I felt good about it, and I got close to losing. Like it didn't pull punches.
Yeah.
So to not know what's happening when you walk into that, kind of rough.
I think for my rating on mechanics, I think I would. I think I'll pick a 3. Because at least they were functional for the most part. I would agree with the things that you're talking about, though. The mini games, the timing one was a little bit frustrating, and I do agree that the battle mechanics were a little bit watered down and that kind of thing, and the platforming is pretty basic stuff. My real gripe was that it was just laggy and slow. So, but to be expected, I guess. So
I do want to actually just up my rating to a 3 as well, because although I only had negative things to say, I did have fun.
Yeah.
So this was a fun game. So I don't want it to sound like it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved this game. And before we do our final ratings and show how much we really loved the game, we're going to talk about the value. This is the final thing we'll talk about. Was this game worth $29.99?
I don't know. That's a real steep price point for a game, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the game. It was a lot of fun, but $30 is a bit steep in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I would say no, and this is coming from someone who is about to rate this as their highest rated game.
Holy moly.
I know. I really, really loved this game. I liked how it was longer. I liked the content variety was crazy, and you never got bored. You could play it. I think I sat down and played this for like 4.5 straight hours over the weekend on one of these days.
nice.
And it's pretty rare that I can sit down and not get tired of a game after that long. So, but $30 was just too much for me. I don't know. I think it has to be even longer than 10 hours to be $30.
Yeah, definitely either longer or, I mean, if they dropped it to like $15, like that seems like it'd be a fair price point compared to 30.
I would probably spend 20, maybe even 25. I just needed more mini games. I think I needed more challenge for this to be worth $30, even though I loved this game.
Yeah.
It wasn't challenging enough for me, and I kind of blew through it. If I were younger, I think if I were like a 10-year-old or a younger kid where, when you're playing games like this, it can take months.
Yeah.
Just months to tear through something like this, then yes, I think it would be worth $30. But as an adult who can sit down and play half the game in one sitting, probably not.
So I've been thinking about how much of a cheapskate I am. And how 2 weeks ago I said, Reigns is not worth $3. As I was continuing to play the game that I had installed on my phone the other day, I was like, it's not really fair. So I'd like to publicly apologize to Reigns and say it's worth $3. I'd also, $30 does feel steep for me after playing this game. But I also do think about like how clever this game is and like what it's doing and like the resources that it's using. Like they put a lot of work and time into this game. But it's hard to say like for the challenge in the game, like for me, I'm just not getting enough out of it. Like I'm not feeling satisfied afterwards. So I think for somebody that is feeling satisfied by the gameplay in this, you know, like a younger person, you know, somebody that's 29 or younger, maybe $30, but not for me.
Yeah.
$20. Yeah. I'm with you there. Probably
20 or 25. I think I could do.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that $5, that last $5.
Add those mini games, damn it.
you gotta draw your line somewhere.
Yeah. I guess I draw it at 25.
Yeah.
Well, this is the end of our podcast, and so we're going to give out our final rating. What did you guys rate this game out of 5?
Well, I think I'm probably at like I did a lot of 4s and 5s and only a handful of 3s.
Well, and you can just follow your heart if you want. I don't take into account any of my other ratings when I do my final rating.
I think I would say 4.1 will be my rating.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a very fun game. Even some of the gripes with the mechanics for sure, but it wasn't like deal breaking or game breaking or anything. And I just had a lot of fun with it. So yeah. Tear it down, Rylan. Tear it down, dude.
This game just wouldn't let me play.
Yeah.
It kept interrupting me. It kept trying to talk to me or like direct my attention to the door that was opening that I knew it was opening because I did the same thing in the last 3 rooms to open the damn door. I know when the door opens.
Yeah.
I don't know why it just irks me so much.
Well, sure. I did actually get really upset. I forgot to mention this when you were talking about it. There were points where it would help you solve the puzzle or give you hints before like it released you into the map. And I'm like, yes, I know. Like I could have figured that out on my own.
Yeah, we walk in the room and I can see what I need to do. And then they have a conversation about what we have to do something. Maybe this heavy rock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, come on. And like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I think I've talked about on the podcast before, like when I'm playing a game, like I want to get into like a flow and like feel like I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm going. I'm like having that, like my energy's at a certain level and I'm just keeping pace with that as I play this game. This game didn't give me that. It just kept taking me like, it's like, hey, wait, okay, now go, but only go for literally 3 seconds. Like literally take 3 steps forward and then we're going to talk to you again. I'm like, this could have been one cutscene.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't decided where my number is.
Do you want me to go?
It's 3.2.
3.2.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, that's
okay.
not bad.
It may deserve higher, but for me, it's low.
It's okay.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually been averaging out our final ratings for the games that we play in 2025. So I'm interested to see where that lands with so maybe it'll average out. But I gave it a 4.8.
Wow.
I know. And I think people will listen to this and be like, it did not sound like you liked it that much. But I try to be really critical in the way that I rate all of the different categories. Just to be honest with how I felt about those in a critical sense. But with my final rating, I go more of how I actually just like enjoyed the game at my heart. And so when I was playing, I was having so much fun. It was such a feel-good game. I loved the music. I was like bopping to it while I was running around. And I really enjoyed it, even though I do love a non-challenging game sometimes. I do wish I didn't get interrupted as much, but the concept of it was just so cool to me. And I had a good time. So 4.8.
Good.
You want to say more?
I'm salty that you didn't like a ranger as much.
Oh. Yeah. This actually, when I was playing this, I was like, this kind of reminds me of a ranger.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, I was thinking this kind of reminds me of a ranger, and I was just thinking about how much I love a ranger.
Yeah. I mean, I loved ranger too. Maybe I scored it unfairly. I did move it up.
4.8 is crazy high.
I know.
That's intense.
I don't know. I just was I really liked it.
That's awesome.
I just had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to be so stingy with the way I rate things.
Yeah.
So when I was playing it, I was like, this feels like a game that would go on my list of like top 10 games that I enjoyed playing. And so I'm not going to be scared to give it a high score.
This is great advice for all of our listeners too. Don't be afraid to love, you guys.
Yeah, that's true. Good point, Rylan. Yeah, man.
It's almost,
No, it's Emma's point.
Yeah, that's true.
it's
Good job,
almost
Emma.
Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is it after? I think it's the week after Valentine's Day.
Is it?
Because the last
We need to
rain-
start
No,
looking
hold
at
on.
when.
Hold on.
Oh,
we
no,
can do
it's
this.
the
We
week-
have the technology.
Next week?
next
Plucky,
week.
Plucky Part 2.
Cool. Well, get thinking about your Valentine. What's wrong with you?
Well, he's the Plucky Squire. Can you be a squire if you're not a squire to anybody? Is that a thing?
He's a squire to our hearts. No? Okay.
Try again.
I mean,
It is true. Also, I meant to look up what plucky meant.
Oh, I feel like I couldn't define it, but I feel like I know what it means.
Hey, Siri. What does plucky mean?
Uh-huh.
Means having or showing determined courage in the face of difficulties.
Difficulties.
oh,
I have
is
the
it?
Australian
Oh,
Siri.
yeah.
Well, this concludes the rating episode for the Plucky Squire. Please join us next week for the discussion episode as we dive into the details of this game and all its hidden gems. If you haven't played the game yet and this sounds like something you'd be interested in, I hope you find time to play before tuning in next week. Please go and give the podcast a follow, 5 stars, a review if you liked what you heard. You can email us with any comments, questions, or constructive criticism at letmebeyourgg@gmail.com. You can also send us any game requests you have if there's something you'd like us to review. You can find us on socials as Let Me Be Your GG. That's LetMeBeyourGG, no spaces. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. We also have a Patreon that can be found at patreon.com/letmebeyourgg. Thank you so much for listening. We can't wait to see you next week. And thank you so much for letting me be your game guide. GG, y'all.
Bye.
Trooper. It's Humgrump.
It's Humgrump, dude.
Is that your Humgrump voice, Shawn?
It's Humgrump.
Gonna take over the world.